I was born a Christian, more precisely an Orthodox Christian. The education I received in regards to that was not overly religious, although the values behind my education were grounded in Christianity. What I mean by that is that, for example, my parents, instead of telling me that you are not allowed to wear a short dress or you are not allowed to have long nails because God will punish you or God thinks this is not right, they were saying you are not allowed to have long nails. Period. Another aspect in regards to my education was that my parents wanted for me and my sister to be submissive to them, but not to other men or not to other figure, more specifically a masculine figure. And in this sense, they helped us to build our own internal autonomy, critical thinking, and independence. This helped me later on when I had my spiritual awakening. I will get to that. But up until that moment, as a child, I was very religious on my own. It wasn't because my parents were telling me that I should read from the book or that I should read the, prayers, but because on my own, I loved the state in which I was going into when I was praying. And of course, at that age, I had absolutely no notion about opening my energetic channel and connecting with astral, nor about being a psychic or using psychic abilities. I had absolutely no notion about that. All I knew that was that I loved to take the book. It was either the Psalm book or the Psalter book or the Akatist book. And I loved to stay in prayers for hours sometimes. Growing a little bit older, we had an uncle that was living nearby monasteries and we started to visit him quite often. And as a result of that, I started to have this desire in my heart to go to monastery because I loved to stay in prayer. I loved to connect with God. I was very much in that energy and I felt it in my heart. And so when I got more and more convinced, I had a dream. And in this dream, it was me and my father. And in between us, there was a gate. And my father told me, the keys are in your hands. You hold the keys. After the dream, I felt absolutely no desire in my heart to go to monastery. And in fact, after the dream, I started to detach myself from any religious beliefs. I didn't stop believing in God. I didn't stop believing in something outside of myself. I just stopped being religious. I didn't discover God then because after that, I had a long period of being in between. Somehow I always believed in incarnations. So when I was hearing people talking about incarnation, for me, it was not a subject for debate. It felt, yes, it's true. When I heard about karma, it was also something that, yes, felt true in my heart. I never denied the existence of God. I never questioned if God is real because I always felt a connection. Only that connection was quite complicated. And that complication was most likely because of the indoctrination. I had my own notion in my heart about the God, and then I had the notion that was imposed onto me by religion. And so further on, years later, I was mostly detached from any form of religion, although I was believing in it. When I had my spiritual awakening, this is when I started to release these walls and what a spiritual awakening feels like, because I won't get into what it's like energetically speaking, but how it felt for me was like I'm living for the first time. I was looking around with a sense of awe. The same streets, the same trees, the same locations, the same places, but I was in awe for everything. I felt a deep connection that was making me cry out of excitement. It was not even the full love, but it was excitement. I was feeling alive for the first time, truly alive. truly excited for everything surrounding me. A few weeks after my awakening, I was hearing people talking about meditation and how positive it is, and I wanted to try it out. And so I went into a guided meditation. It was the first and the only guided meditation I did in my practice since I started this spiritual journey. And during that meditation is when I felt the most intense frequency of love. I never felt loved as I felt in that moment during that meditation. I didn't use any substances. I didn't use anything. I was just conscious, seeing in my third eye for the first time and being in a place where I felt recognized. I will dive more into this and what has happened there, because I have many dreams, many experiences, many visions that happen during active meditation, and I will treat them with their own topic. But this is when, during the meditation, my heart got fully open. Nevertheless, even after that, I was keep dreaming about through your heart, open your heart. And I was struggling to understand how am I supposed to feel? How am I supposed to do this? So there was an entire process. But after the meditation, I started to almost to feel a loving presence. And when I did meditation on my own, without any form of guidance, I was seeing in my third eye the tree of life and an old woman that was very modestly dressed, and it almost felt like it's following me, but it's not in a toxic way. It was just present, waiting for me. And I remember that I felt like it might be God, but I didn't want to accept it because to me it was a sin. Like, I'm not worthy. Why would God itself communicate with me? Why would angels connect with me? Me, nothing. Me, who I am a sinner. Me, who I am unworthy. And so my level of confidence, it was under the table. But at some point, I accepted because I felt it in my heart. And the moment I accepted, all sorts of experiences start to flow through me, through my heart. The way that I felt throughout my journey since that moment was in a way that is very difficult to explain. But this is when I found the real God, and this is what allowed me to access more information, more data that will be shared on this channel. So what I want with this video is to introduce you to the fact, or to the idea, to the notion that God is not in any religion. In fact, if you try to find God through external circumstances, through religious beliefs, you will not find God, because that God was man-made or man-created through belief systems and the consciousness that was man-made. You won't be able to find God in a religion. You won't be able to find God in a system, in a book, in external validation, in someone telling you this is God. You will find it in your heart. You will find it through your soul, because the connection that exists between you and the divine is not between you as an ego. It's not between you as the wound itself. It's between you as a light frequency and God. And God doesn't need to be praised. It doesn't need to be validated. Doesn't need to control. It's the pure frequency of love. And this connection, and me allowing this connection to exist and to accept the fact that I'm worthy to be loved by God, I'm worthy to connect with God, allowed me to also access a certain information, answers at least valid for me through my own experience, answer to questions like the creation of the earth or the entire physical reality, why it is as it is, why are we suffering, why everything is as it's happening, and everything else that I will be sharing on my channel. But I wanted to start with this because at the core of my belief system is the love I have for God, as I know it, as a light being, as a loving being that is not in any religion, It's not in any spiritual system. I don't follow any spiritual system. I'm not an atheist. I'm not a deist, and I will touch this topic. I'm not religious, and I'm not a witchy. I'm not pagan. I'm just a soul connecting with the divine. And that's it. You don't need anything else. Don't need any form of rituals or practices to connect with God. You just need to feel it in your heart. I will add this part as an extra because I missed on sharing how God's love felt in my heart. And the way that I felt it was universal love. It doesn't make any differences. It won't love me more than it loves you. It won't love you as a Christian or non-Christian more than it loves anyone else. It won't love us as humans more than it loves any other species or plants that exist on earth. At the same time, it's not judgmental. It's not authoritarian. It's not controlling. It's not demanding. It doesn't expect praise or validation. It doesn't require any form of ritual. It doesn't have expectations. It doesn't require submission. In my own practice, since I started this pure connection between me and the divine without any spiritual or religious system, I have never felt guided to submit to God. I have always been guided to trust in my light. In fact, I never felt guided to trust in God more than I'm trusting in my own light. Because here is the thing. When I love my light, when I protect my light, when I am trusting in my own light, I'm also trusting in God. And if anyone knows you, it's you. If anyone should trust you, it's yourself. There is no external attack that can come upon you or temptation that can come upon you and ruin the trust you have within yourself for your own light, because you know yourself, and aside of that, your own light, or through your own light, you grow, you expand. We didn't come here on earth to depend on God, to give our power away. And this is perhaps the most beautiful gift that we have received. We have received the power of our own. We are not required to validate anyone and anything. We are required to trust in our own light. With that being said, thank you so much for being here with me today. I'm wishing you a lovely day, and we're going to speak soon.